What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. We hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you have been enjoying the first 2 weeks of free agency across the National Football League. The Dallas Cowboys, of course, finally starting to get involved. The Cowboys, at the time of this recording, have signed or agreed to terms with 8 new players, 6 of whom are on the defensive side of the ball, a place where they need a lot of work given what we saw all throughout the 2020 season. So they're stocking up. The Cowboys seemingly ready for a new campaign. We're excited to get into it. We're excited to talk about it. We remind you, of course, to subscribe here to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Make sure you're always checking out bloggingtheboys.com. Let's begin. On Thursday, Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy took to the podium. That's right. This was pretty notable in that it was the first in-person press conference that Mike McCarthy has had as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys since the 2020 NFL Combine. Now, that, of course, was in Indianapolis, meaning that this was the first in-person press conference at the Star in Frisco that Mike McCarthy has held since his introductory press conference as the Dallas Cowboys head coach. Needless to say, it had been a minute. You can see Mike McCarthy's looking sharp. He's got the Cowboy Joe logo going on his cap, and what's more is he is seasoned. Mike McCarthy has that beard that we saw many times throughout the winters in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He seems ready to roll, and he's loose, and he's so loose, in fact, that he kind of let something slip. Mike McCarthy noted during his press conference that Tyrone Crawford, the longtime Dallas Cowboys defensive lineman, I chose those words specifically, is in fact going to be calling it a career. The Cowboys drafted Tyrone Crawford out of Boise State, a well that they know very well. Back in 2012, he was their third-round choice. You will remember that the Cowboys did not have a second-round pick in 2012 because they used it to trade up to the 6th overall pick to take Morris Claiborne. What's more is that Tyrone Crawford was the last standing member of the 2012 Dallas Cowboys draft class, a group that featured the likes of Matt Johnson, the Unicorn, and of course, who could forget the greatest slot receiver to ever play, Danny Cole. But in all seriousness, Tyrone Crawford, I mentioned he was a defensive lineman, and really just did a lot of dirty work, as a friend of the show, John Owning, said on Twitter in the aftermath of this news. And a lot of that is just because the Cowboys can never decide where to play Tyrone Crawford. If you've been following the Cowboys for long enough, you know that early on in Tyrone's career he's a defensive tackle, he's a defensive end. We're going to move him here, we're going to move him there. In fact, they kept switching up his jersey numbers because they couldn't quite figure out exactly where he was going to fit. And so Tyrone was really just kind of a soldier who did what was asked of him. He really evolved into a great leader on the team. You will also remember that in 2018, as the Cowboys were about to win the NFC East against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tyrone was hurt, and the team was, really beat up and really kind of shocked by it throughout the game as it was unfolding. Tyrone was a really great leader for the Cowboys, and somebody who I think had a bigger impact than it's kind of been seen in terms of if you just look on the surface level of Cowboys stuff. So we certainly wish Tyrone Crawford all the best, and we hope that great things are in store for him in the future. Mike McCarthy did say that he will be involved. He'll stay around Dallas. But yeah, Mike McCarthy just kind of accidentally let it slip out that Tyrone Crawford is going to be calling it a career. But that's somebody who is departing the Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk about players that they have added. Jayron Kearse, a safety who the Cowboys agreed to terms with earlier in the week on a 1-year deal. Somebody who had played with the Detroit Lions last season, but other than that, really spent his time with the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously is familiar with George Witt during their time together in Minnesota. This is a depth signing. I mean, that's really, and this is nothing against Kearse. I mean, this is a depth signing, a lottery ticket, so to speak. This isn't somebody who's going to make or break, your season. Somebody who's going to make a galactic difference. But we're all certainly rooting for him, and we all certainly hope it works out. But the Cowboys, and this news came, there was a lot of fun stuff happening on Twitter earlier in the week with Malik Hooker, Jayron Kearse, Malik Hooker, and Kazee all visited the Cowboys this week. And Malik Hooker, we live in a day and age where players can tweet things. They tweet eye emojis. They have fun. They like certain things, whatever the case may be. And Malik was really kind of intimating that he really wanted to be a member of the Dallas Cowboys. Well, lo and behold, the Cowboys, after a report that nothing was imminent with any of the 3 players that they hosted at the Star in Frisco, well, they landed Kearse, and everybody thought that was going to kind of be the end of it. But then, late Thursday evening, the Dallas Cowboys also got on the board with Kazee, somebody who obviously knows defensive coordinator Dan Quinn from their time together together with the Atlanta Falcons. The Dallas Cowboys now have another option in their secondary. DeMonte, somebody, this is worth getting excited about. I don't know if you guys can hear my dog in the background. The work from home life is very interesting. His name is Bear. He's, if you didn't know that, and the Andy Dalton QB1 tweet this week, he's seen a lot of Andy Dalton and he has some thoughts, but that's a whole different subject. DeMonte Kazee, again, he's got some position flexibility. We know the Cowboys love that. See the Tyrone Crawford point as an example. He could play corner. He could play safety. Somebody that I think is definitely worth getting excited about. Now, I caution you in the sense that when we talked about the moves that the rest of the division has made so far in free agency, we talked about the Washington football team. I love the Curtis Samuel signing, don't get me wrong, but we talked about how you can't just take guys that one coach had in a different location, bring them to his new location, and think it's all going to work out. The Cowboys have now brought in Keanu Neal, they've brought in DeMonte Kazee, and it doesn't just work because Dan Quinn, Keanu, and DeMonte Kazee changed colors and, training shirts and caps and jerseys and things like that. But DeMonte Kazee is somebody who has a legitimate pedigree. You will recall that he tied for the NFL lead in interceptions in 2018, but the, hindsight of that, or the point of that is that was a long time ago. I mean, in 2018, to put in perspective how long ago this was, in 2018, Amari Cooper was just a new member of the Dallas Cowboys. Leighton Vander Esch was a promising rookie. Jalen Smith was a legitimate linebacker in the NFL, and the Cowboys were still operating in a fairly, legitimate sense under the tutelage of Jason Garrett. So, I mean, it's been a long time, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a great player hiding underneath, the 2-7, so to speak. DeMonte Kazee, again, somebody who, look, I mean, This is what we're asking of the Dallas Cowboys, and I think that that's the perspective that's needed. We want someone who can go do this, and I know that seems obvious, but we want somebody who can play the ball, somebody who can go after. The Cowboys Mike McCarthy talks so much about generating turnovers. We saw them do that near the end of last season, but a lot of that was due to the quality of opponents they were facing. Now, this is the Carolina Panthers at the time, so it's not necessarily an elite quarterback, an elite moment, whatever the case may be, but DeMonte Kazee, again, somebody who hunts for the ball, and that's what you want to see out of players in your secondary. I mean, again, this isn't going to be something that really makes the Cowboys a completely different defense. And this is a little bit of luck on DeMonte Kazee's part, but still, sometimes luck is forced. Sometimes luck is made. I mean, sometimes luck is generated by being in the right spot because you have great football instincts. And DeMonte Kazee here, I mean, you're in the right spot, and if you're going to benefit from that, like, who's going to be upset about this? I mean, no Cowboys fan would be upset if this type of interception happened on the regular. There is a drop involved, but hey, an interception is an interception. And while the Cowboys are now seemingly taking care of the safety position, which is a sentence I never thought that I would say, the question is now, do they need another cornerback? We know that the Cowboys brought back Jourdan Lewis. That happened after one of our live streams. Come on, Cowboys, give us the news while we're on live. However, now, I don't want to say I feel good about the safety position, but I feel Cowboys good, right? Like the Cowboys have completely lowered our expectations when it comes to the safety position for like a decade now, that in terms of what they have at present time, I feel like, okay, we can go to work with this. But I don't feel that same sense at corner, which is, again, this is new for me, which, I mean, I think I speak for everyone. This is a new sensation, feeling like, you know what, safety's probably taken care of for the time being. We'll worry about this again in 2022. But we still have to figure out what's going to happen at cornerback. We know that the Cowboys, of course, entered this offseason retaining Anthony Brown and Trayvon Diggs. Cool. They brought back Jourdan Lewis. Awesome. Yes, they brought back CJ Goodwin. No disrespect, but we obviously know that he is a special teams ace. They certainly need a veteran cornerback. Richard Sherman's still out in the fold. There are definitely guys that can be found. I don't know that that's necessarily an avenue that the Cowboys are going to explore. They are seemingly, though, we talked, I mean, when Dan Quinn was first hired, we did a video here on the channel about 5 players that the Cowboys could seemingly go out and get. 2 of the players that we listed, no big deal to pat ourselves on the back, were Keanu Neal and DeMonte Kazee, because they had connections to Dan Quinn. Richard Sherman, not during the time with the Atlanta Falcons, obviously, does have that same connection to Dan Quinn. If you listen to the podcast that Richard does with Chris Collinsworth and Pro Football Focus, he's talked about how, it's an interesting market for cornerbacks at the time. He's talked about how, his age is obviously a factor with free agency at the present moment, whatever the case may be. The longer Richard Sherman waits, obviously, the more his price drops. We know the Cowboys love price droppings. Is that a word or a term, price droppings? We know the Cowboys love when prices drop. The Price is Right, Showcase, whatever, CBS, all that stuff. Bob Barker. But, if that price is right, and I know that that's a lame way to put it, but if the price is right, I could see this happening. But the point here is that the Cowboys do need another veteran corner. They need another body, because while it does seem likely that they are ultimately going to walk away from the NFL draft with some help, another cornerback would go a long way at establishing some depth, because this is a team that has been damaged, that has been ravaged, that has really just kind of been impacted in a large way by injuries, right? I mean, we're talking about a team and a defense that lost a lot of snaps due to injuries last year, and I know they lost a lot of snaps on offense due to injury with Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins and Dak Prescott, of course, but if we consider, let's look at the defense as a whole right now, all right? We're talking about a defensive line that, for all intents and purposes, let's call it for now Tristan Hill and Neville Gallimore inside, right? You've got DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory on the outside. Okay, you've got now at linebacker Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, and seemingly Keanu Neal. And in your secondary, you now have Anthony Brown, or if you want to call it Jordan Lewis and Xavier Woods. Goodness gracious, Xavier Woods still a free agent, but Trayvon Diggs, and now whatever combination of safety you want, right? Say it's DeMonte Kazee and Donovan Wilson. Say it's whatever. The point is the Cowboys now have some options. However, that is going to be challenged rather quickly. What about when the Cowboys are in nickel? They're going to need another cornerback, and they're going to need more cornerbacks. We want to see the Cowboys stock up at that position. We want to see more, which is why it certainly would be nice if they went out and added a veteran presence. But speaking of stock, the stock for two particular draft prospects is on the rise. Patrick Surtain II, I think if we polled every Dallas Cowboys fan on earth, in fact, I'm going to ask you right now to leave your answer in the comments. Who do you want to see the Cowboys draft with the 10th overall pick? I think the answer that we would see the most would be Patrick Surtain. This has been a challenging week for Caleb Farley, the Virginia Tech cornerback. It was announced early in the week that he would be having surgery on Tuesday. Obviously, if you're the Cowboys and you're on the clock at 10th overall, you want a home run hit, right? You want a home run pick. You want a home run prospect. And you can't take any chance with a player that's coming off of a surgery, a player who might not be ready until training camp, whatever the case may be. And so it's unfortunate to say that with Caleb Farley's stock going down, that raises the stock of other players. But I think that every Cowboys fan, for the most part, now there is a different contingency here, but for the most part, has Alabama cornerback Patrick Surtain as their CB1. Surtain had his pro day this week, as did somebody else that we're about to talk about, and he was impressive. I mean, if the Cowboys follow our advice and go out and get another veteran cornerback and then add Surtain to that mix, that's a defense that is okay, right? That's a defense that is solid is a stretch, but that's a defense that Dak Prescott can win with. And I know that some people say, well, why does that matter? It matters because Dak Prescott's the dude that scores points for the team. And so if you've got a defense that can just survive, and I think that is certainly a defense, if it adds this talent that we're talking about, that is more than capable of just surviving, then you're talking about a team that can win some football games, especially in the NFC East, especially in the weaker conference like we've talked about many times. But Patrick Surtain, somebody who, it's possible, in fact, it's probable that before this week even started, you had Patrick Surtain as your CB1, right? He was your top cornerback. He was the one you wanted the Cowboys to draft no matter what. And we had started to see Caleb Farley's name drop in terms of national mock drafts, but the news about his surgery obviously, highlighted what the insiders knew, so to speak. But Patrick Surtain, not the only option. Jaycee Horn is really, I think, the primary beneficiary of the Caleb Farley news, because we already knew that Patrick Surtain was going to be a first-round pick, maybe go in the top 10, whatever the case may be. But Jaycee Horn is somebody who we've talked a lot about as a potential trade back option for the Cowboys, right? If they do move back, if say the Chicago Bears come calling because Andy Dalton is not a quarterback that they do view as QB1, sorry Bear, it's cool. He sleeps over there, and that's why, sometimes he wants to be in the video. Who can blame him? He's an adorable pup. But Jaycee Horn, we've talked again about as a candidate. If the Cowboys move back with whoever, pick up more draft capital, which is something that we would certainly love to see. I think that's probably the most preferable option at this point. And believe me, we want the Cowboys to come away with an incredible player, but we need lots of capital. You are now talking about a team that is operating with a quarterback on a big-time contract. So how do you supplement that? You get cheap labor. What is cheap labor in the NFL? It is rookie contracts. You need as many players, as many legitimate players, as many star players on rookie contracts as you can possibly find. The more rookie contracts you have, theoretically top rookie contracts, first round picks, second round picks, third round picks, the more likely your chances of success are in that capacity. Now, Jaycee Horn, though, had an incredible pro day this week with South Carolina, all right? Now, this is great because it proves to us that he is a very awesome player, but this is also bad because now when, we're not the only people that are aware of this. I mean, NFL front offices are watching our, YouTube videos all the time. What's up, guys? How you been? Hope you're having a great week and everything. But everybody obviously knows that Jaycee Horn is an incredible prospect, and everybody knows that they have questions about Caleb Farley. So it's possible, in fact, it's likely that teams are going to prioritize coming away with a cornerback, with somebody like Jaycee Horn, and it's probable, in fact, it's incredibly likely that NFL teams, every NFL team, is going to power rank them in some degree of Patrick Surtain or Jaycee Horn at 1 and 2, and then Caleb Farley. I think that we should consider that because of Jaycee Horn's ascension and his rise throughout this process and the news surrounding Caleb Farley, that maybe those two, dominoes have flipped, so to speak. Maybe Caleb Farley is the true trade back option now for the Cowboys. Now, I know that probably doesn't excite you, but, it does pick you up extra draft capital, which is an important thing. There's pros and cons to every situation is what I'm saying, but Jaycee Horn is somebody who has really improved his stock, who is seeing a lot of buzz, a lot of discussion generated about him, so we will see. There is about a month left until the NFL draft. It's coming down to the wire. I do think it is going to be very difficult for the Cowboys to not walk away from this with a great cornerback, and that's the good news, right? And whatever path they take to getting there, is going to be subject for debate, but it is more probable than not, shout out to Tom Brady and Deflategate, that they are going to walk away with somebody who can really help their defense and really help their secondary, which is a very good thing. Now, a whole batch of players are going to be new for the Cowboys, obviously, when it comes to the NFL draft. We already have some new players by way of free agency. We mentioned the Cowboys have signed or agreed to terms with 8 different players at the time of our discussion here. But the Cowboys, on top of that, have actually gone a step further. They've made it official with 5 of those players. The Cowboys team website, DallasCowboys.com, if you didn't know, has jersey numbers listed for 5 of their free agency additions. You will see that Jake McQuaid, the long snapper, now wearing number 44 for the Cowboys. It's an okay long snapper number. I don't like 40s on linebackers myself, so I know that Keanu Neal is now this linebacker hybrid flex, whatever. If he wants to wear a number in the 40s, I might be able to get on board with it. But generally, 40s belong on DBs, safeties. Some corners can pull it off. Terrence Newman, of course, the great 41. But a long snapper in the 40s, I like to see that. So Jake McQuaid, good job there. Ty Nsekhe, classic swing tackle number 75. No issues with that. Great job there. Carlos Watkins, number 91. Number 91. It wasn't even cold yet. It wasn't even cold yet. All right? LP Ladouceur wore number 91 for like 600 years, Carlos. I know you wore it with the Houston Texans, and I hope you do well with it. But we needed a moment, Carlos. We needed a moment. I could be on All My Children, I could. If I really wanted to, I could. Do you see that's called method acting? That's what that's called right there. Brent Urban, the run defender that we were all super pumped about, wearing number 95. Again, classic, just a solid interior defensive lineman number right there, number 95. Shout out to David Irving, I suppose. But you see that, and it just screams middle of the line. I love it. I love number 95 and number 98. I mean, talking about, look, I'm a little bothered, right? Like I'm gonna lose some sleep tonight because Carlos Watkins is wearing number 91. I mean, it's not going to be a lot. It's going to be like 6 minutes of sleep. But, I mean, I will toss and turn for those 6 minutes about LP Ladouceur's number 91 being handed out so quickly. But I won't feel the exact same way about this. Tarell Basham now given number 98 by the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know. I mean, when I tweeted this out, there were some people who were a little bit, ruffled by this. Let's be honest here. Tyrone Crawford's not even the greatest number 98 in Dallas Cowboys history, right? Like, if he were, I could see you being a little, again, All My Children, method acting here. I could see you being a little taken aback by it. However, I mean, if we're giving the number away after Greg Ellis, I mean, you can give the number away here. I mean, I'm not a big fan of 98 in general. It's, there are great edge rush numbers, right? Like 90 is a great edge rusher number, 93, 94, 96 in certain team fonts because it looks super cool. Like the Broncos 96 looks awesome. 97 can be okay. Taco Charlton kind of soured it for a lot of us. 99 is obviously super clutch. 98 is just not that great. Not a fan of it. But hey, who am I? I mean, who am I? But either way, Carlos, we're watching you. All right, coming in, swooping up number 91. Not cool, man. Not cool. But that about does it for our recap for the second week of free agency when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. We talk about the Dallas Cowboys all the time here at Blogging the Boys. So, again, subscribe. Subscribe to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Make sure you check out bloggingtheboys.com. We also have a podcast network. And if you didn't know, we put out a different show every single day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And on Saturday, we offer you a Spanish-only speaking Cowboys episode called Cowboys Hoy. So, you got a lot of mix. You got a lot of different stuff, different hosts, different people, different takes, different opinions, talking about America's team, the thing that we all know and love. Like I said, the NFL draft is about a month away. We are very excited. We are working hard. We are planning a lot of things that we think you are going to enjoy. So again, subscribe so you don't miss any of it. I say this all the time, and I mean it. I wouldn't say it unless I didn't mean it. It is the coolest thing that we can all come around here and sit and talk about the Cowboys and have fun doing it. I mean, that is truly sick, truly cool, truly awesome, truly amazing. And shout out to you for being amazing. So, that about does it. Enjoy whatever you're going to watch on Netflix over the weekend. I hope your bracket survives the Sweet 16, the Elite 8. It's going to be a good time. We're all going to have some fun as the bracket continues to unfold. So we'll be here next week talking Cowboys because that's what we do. So do me a favor. Have the absolute best weekend of all time. You know why? Because you deserve it. See you next time.